Welcome to the Social Impact Journal, the show where I talk to the change makers around the world driving social impact. My name is Jack Farron and I'm your host. And this week we meet Camilla. She's a social entrepreneur and the director of Amplify Goods with an amazing story. Shout out to Waste to Wonder Worldwide, who provided me the space to record this conversation with Camilla. Good morning. Thanks so much for joining me on the Social Impact Journal.
You're welcome. A bright start in Birmingham.
Yes, yeah, we're here for the workplace event at the NEC. So before we get on to Amplify Goods, why social entrepreneurship? What really sparked your motivation to start a social enterprise?
I was one of those people that was like trapped in the corporate world and then ran away to international development, and you sort of go back and forth and you're like, neither of these are my home, something's missing. So 9 years ago, a friend of mine just told me about the OnPurpose program. I don't know if you've heard of OnPurpose. And I was like, oh, that makes sense. Applied to that and it all just sort of clicked. So this marriage of like purpose and using your business mind, like it just, you know, when you find it, you're like, why would I ever work anywhere else? So here I am and I'm not going anywhere.
What did you do in international development?
I worked in India and Ethiopia, mostly in India, worked with people with disabilities, trying to get them back into work. So a lot of advocacy with corporates and a lot of like entrepreneurship stuff. And also worked in the sugarcane industry, looking at the role of women and entrepreneurship within like the sugarcane value chain. And that was really interesting, like those moments of being in a room in Tamil Nadu with 20 people and going, can anyone drive a tractor? And this laughter of just like, oh no, only men drive tractors, not women. And then one woman like puts their hand up and everyone like, oh, shock. And you know, this was a few years ago, but those moments of like that clicking, like you feel it in the room when people go, whoa, actually I could do something else. Like I can do what they can do. So I guess I'm addicted to that moment where people like open their mind to a different way, and we need to do that faster, wider for humanity to like get back on course, right? So we're all doing that.
Yeah, so you were working in international development, then you found the OnPurpose project.
Yeah.
So your journey into social entrepreneurship, did you work at a social enterprise or was Amplify Goods the first that you set up?
No, my first social enterprise, I got put on a placement at Clarity Employment for Blind People, which at the time was the oldest social enterprise in England, employed about 100 people, 80% of which were disabled, and their website was terrible, their products were looking pretty ropey, and I joined there and launched a new brand. And we took that brand, the Soap Co, into John Lewis, Fortnum Mason and Selfridges, as well as like dozens of corporates, and then launched another brand, Beco, and that went into Sainsbury's, Waitrose, Boots and Co-op. And we were winning. Like those two brands were about £1 million, and there was a lot of growth and a lot of like protecting of jobs. And then the whole charity went under in 2020 because of a pension deficit. And that was heartbreaking, right? Because we were doing some great stuff and changing a lot of, like, there were a lot of hearts and minds work that we were doing. Then I took some time away, been working in events with people that have experiences of homelessness for Connection Crew and Stitch, loving that for a few years. And then, you know, Pasha and others just sort of pulling me back into this world, and really pleased for the last 2 years I've been doing a bit of both, and Amplify Goods has really been growing well. In the last 6 months, we've just had a real uplift, and it's a super exciting time.
So it was 2020 that the charity you're working with went under. So that was, at what point was COVID around at that stage?
It was just before COVID, and it's interesting because everyone's just like, oh yeah, COVID took a lot of organizations down. And I was like, hang on a second. An organization that shouldn't go down in COVID is a soap factory. A soap factory, when you need loads of soap, it was the perfect time. And for it to go like pop just before was like, I mean, it hit me really hard. It's taken me a long time to work through it, and we challenged what was happening, and it went through the courts, and only now really have I stepped past that, and the people responsible for the downfall, or some of the people responsible, like some justice is being served at the moment, but the justice for the people with disabilities that have been out of work for 4 years, that's been lacking. And so being able now to grow Amplify Goods, and we've just given the first days of work to Ozzy and Sarit and others that were working at Clarity, and giving them a reason to leave the house and get back to work. Like, I was about to swear, but it's magic. Like, that's what I'm in it for, is like those moments, and really connected to the individuals and knowing their story and their life and the impact on their life of like a simple thing like a day of work, but it's such a big part of our culture.
So they were your ex-colleagues at the charity, and you've now, been able to grow your business so you can actually take them on again.
Definitely, yeah. And having conversations here today, like, oh, there's some other products we could launch, maybe with others here in partnership, and how that can create even more employment. So, we're not at the point where we can employ multiple people full time, but actually that's not necessarily what some people want, but they do want that like social interaction, and a lot of social interaction comes from work in our society. So
sure.
So
talk to me, Amplify Goods, how did it get started? And I'm always interested in the first few months of a social business, of how you approach things, and obviously of all of the challenges that come with that.
Started over some wine with Pasha and someone called Sophie, and just going.
So Pasha is your co-founder.
Pasha's a co-founder at Amplify Goods, and over wine, a lot of great conversations happen. You know that, I know that. But that day of like, I guess I was in some sort of trauma after clarity. Like I threw my heart and soul into this thing, and for it not to work, it really hit me hard. And I ended up getting a nerve condition. I got shingles and then trigeminal neuralgia, and like the nerve condition lasted for ages, like through 19, 20, 21. And so it was really by the back end of 21 that I was like, okay, I'm back. I can see what is needed, and like, let's go at this from another angle, in another way, but also bringing more environmental stuff in. Like I'm a certified sustainability practitioner with IEMA, and like I really care about more than just a single issue. Like it's about the system change. And so bringing, yes, employment for disabled people and people furthest from the labour market, yes, soap, but the rest of it, like lots of that is new with Amplify Goods, around the connection with what we do with our profits, around mental health, and people working at the intersection of like nature and like how we support their mental health. So it's got a lot of facets and layers, but we're living in a complicated world, and like I think people are beginning to see that. Like they're not looking for that one trick pony, like this organization does this thing. They're going, okay, how do you fit into the system? How do you influence the system? Like how are things changing because of the role you're playing?
So we have a few of your products here, and I even have one here. So this is a double lockable bracket.
It's really funny. Like you give that to someone and be like, guess what it is? Don't see the sticker.
I didn't know what it was.
Guess what this bit of cardboard is. But I guess we brought that here to show you, like, yes, we use like steel offcuts wherever we can to reduce waste. Yes, we're using waste cardboard in the packaging, and paper tape and recyclable stickers, and so you end up with something like that rather than something that would look so different. But inside is a powder coated black double wall bracket that like holds 2 bottles like this, and it's a holder of things, and that's important. This is important. We can create employment through that, and this, the wrapping of this bottle, that creates employment. And people say like, oh, why don't you just like outsource that, or why don't you just buy some eco materials? And we're like, no, we're going to collect cardboard from our local community. That's like 0 carbon. We're going to cut that cardboard to size. That creates jobs, and we're going to wrap these products in waste materials. And so honestly, like people are going to challenge it and go, why not do it this way? But our social impact is broad, and part of it is about employment. And at a time when jobs are disappearing, if we can create a reason to leave the house and wrap some bottles and some wall brackets, we're going to do that. So
amazing.
That's one bit of it.
So these bottles, where are you selling them, or who are your key clients?
Yeah, so we are a B2B brand, and so rather than when I was at Clarity, we would sell however we could. Some grandma that wants grapefruit and whatever shower gel, sure, we'll make that. So we had call centers and direct to consumer and retail and business to business, all sorts. For Amplify Goods, we're focused on business to business through distributors. So that end corporate, they don't buy the soap in their bathrooms. It's the next layer down. It's either the property owner, like CBRE, whoever manages that property, CBRE, JLL, etc., Savills, or it could be ISS, Mighty, Kingdom Cleaning. There's all sorts of layers there. And there's some really big players in that market. And so the end customers, they have a contract with that next layer. That next layer buy from a distributor, and we sell to that distributor by the pallet. So when someone says to us, can we buy 5 litres of soap? Absolutely, but not through us. And they're like, but isn't it better if we buy it through you? Absolutely not. Last mile carbon, like that's huge. The cost of us packing and fulfilling that one order, there's no profit margin. For the price we can sell it at, really good competitive price that is affordable and accessible to almost any business across the public sector, we do that by selling by the pallet. So we sell by the pallet, ship by the pallet, and let the supply chain that already exists work. And that's different from other social enterprises and how we're doing it. We don't think our way is right, but this is the way that we can make impact. And we love that other social enterprises, even in soap, can go and do something direct and smaller scale, and they've all got social value. But our way is pretty unique in the market at the moment.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
What's the big vision for Amplify Goods? You know, where do you want to get to in terms of the business and also the social impact that you're creating?
We think when we get to 700K, we can help 100 people a year. And that's 100 intersectional change makers working on the front line of the just transition and the climate breakdown. And that would be a win. We're not trying to create, it sounds weird, but someone said, you want a £5 million business, a £10 million? No, absolutely. That's not really what we're trying to do. We're trying to scale something in the UK to fulfill a market here. And I think we might scale quite quickly to 1 million, but we're not trying to take over the whole world. What we do want to do is set the standard in the industry and stimulate change with our competitors. So we create a £1 million awesome business that's helping loads of people, and that stimulates ripple effects of change across everyone else that's already in the supply chain. That way we can get to where we need to get to. We're not trying to be the only one that does it. We want to stimulate that broader change.
No, that's amazing. I think a lot of people might have these crazy objections or ideas or targets, but I think you're actually very realistic of what you want to achieve, and also the change that you can create. And I think you will be able to create. As a social entrepreneur, what kind of resources or people have been instrumental in connecting you with the knowledge or maybe the networks that have allowed you to succeed and grow so quickly?
I think if I hadn't had the experience I had before at Clarity, and Pasha didn't have the experience she had before through the legal profession, through working with refugees, all sorts of stuff, if we didn't come together with that, and my professional experience in the corporate world before was in procurement, and so bringing all this together puts us in a unique place where we know the market, and we're very clear on how we're going to do things and what we need to do. And coming to it with pragmatism, but also we come to it with networks of people that want to support us, people that trust us and want to help through PR, through design, through distribution support, all sorts of ways. We're really lucky. As a small business, you either go at it with loads of investment or through bootstrapping and asking for loads of favors, and we've taken the second option. And that's
same, yeah.
And
a lot of favors.
A lot of favors and a lot of long days, and but it feels right, and it feels good that we've not had to compromise or question where we're trying to get to early on in our journey. And if you go for investment straight away, I think straight away you say you're going to sell apples, and someone says, yeah, but I'll give you £1 million if you sell pears, and it's suddenly you're selling pears. And it's great that we're selling apples, we're selling soap, but for the analogy, we're selling apples, and 2.5 years in, we're still selling apples, and we know why, and that's really, really great. I love that we can still do that, and we will probably seek investment this year, but we can do it with a framework of why, how, who, where, when, and that sits better now to do that now.
Brilliant. Look, I think your story from your work at Clarity and everything that happened there, and to pick yourself up and to start this social enterprise and to be growing so quickly is so admirable. I want to ask you a question. So if you had your own page in a social impact journal that you can write for a young entrepreneur who is thinking about coming into this space, from your experience, your challenges, and how you've overcome that, what would you write in that page?
I think it's really easy for us to go, okay, I'm going to do this thing and I'm going to do it on my own and I'm going to be the leader of the thing. But I think what we need is to do more in community. So if you really care about a thing, there's 130,000 social enterprises in the UK. Go and find a social enterprise within 5 miles of your house for a cause that you don't know much about but you care about, and just go and listen and learn and absorb. Because whatever we do, first time around, there's going to be challenges. A lot of businesses fail first time, and we're all stronger through that failure, of course, but we're stronger through collaboration. And so, let's collaborate more. Those young social entrepreneurs that want to just come and join us at Amplify Goods. There's a home for you here where you can bring all of that enthusiasm and all of that skill, and you can learn and do and all those things. But yeah, come join. And I think we solve social problems faster, collaborating through communities, not through the sort of, I was going to start a whole new topic around the patriarchy, but I'm not going to do that. But it doesn't need to be this like single leader vision with this person at the top that looks like other leaders that exist at the moment. It can be oh so different. So like listen, learn, collaborate.
Yeah. I think our audience have a lot to think about, from this episode, and a lot to learn also. Camilla, thanks so much for joining me on the show.
Thanks. Really appreciate the time and the thinking, and I love these questions because it gets us clarifying what we're doing. So thanks
Absolutely.
to you.
Thanks so much.
All right.
Thanks so much for listening to this week's episode. If you did enjoy the show, please share with your colleagues and friends, and make sure to follow or subscribe where you're listening or watching. See us next week at the same time for another episode of the show. Thank you.